continued because in my sheer frustration of doing this, I canceled the video too soon, so we continue. 3B.
No problem. That's a balance that happens in the natural world. Trees, well, like we said, that allows sunlight to come in. That mimics the natural world. However, when you have a lot of people, whack, 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 then you come over here, and Jose Maria is like, I'm here. You can't go. You're like, oh, sorry. And then you go over here. Antonia Maria is like, no, not here. And you're like, oh. So you're way over here. You whack, whack, whack. And then the same 3 years you come back here, it hasn't grown back enough. You don't have enough trees. You don't have enough to burn to get soil. So the whole thing starts to erode. So when we look at slash and burn, it's got such a dramatic slash and burn. It works just fine if you don't have very many people. So slash and burn Sweden, and again I would put a star by that word Sweden. When you don't have very many people, it works well. It mimics the forest. When you do have a lot of people, then it doesn't work. So this is, I'm in a little plain, I don't like little plains, and going into where I worked in Costa Rica out in the rainforest, you can see all of this deforestation, all these people where agriculture and the forest has not had a chance to grow back. And eventually it leads to erosion. And this is, I worked in Ecuador, and I would go out to a family every month, and I went out 1 month, and I was like, hey, what happened to your hill? And they're like, oh, it washed away. Oh, and that's because they've been planting for too long on the same patch, and it just eventually erodes away. So that can become a problem. So what are some of the potential solutions? One thing that people talk about is ecotourism, a way where you can get money by leaving an area intact. This is in the Galapagos in Ecuador. Has anyone been to the Galapagos?
This is another important segment. This is a very, very secured, environmentally protected island, and there are still big problems. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, it is awesome. It's a series of what? What are the Galapagos? Islands, yeah. So these are islands that are off of Ecuador, and you go out there, and it's really, really super regulated, because what's especially unique about this place has to do with the animals and the fauna that is there. So I was a guide in the rainforest, and you're hoping, a morpho goes by, or you see a kinkajou, and then your tourists will be happy. You go out here, and you're just like, oh, excuse me, animals, and they're like, hey, what you doing? And you're like, wow, I'd like to be a tour guide out here. So it's a sea lion, and literally I'm standing there, and it's just going, it's doing the whole, what's up? And I'm like, bless you, click, 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 click. And it costs to go out there, so they're making money by keeping this area intact. And then just another example is this is in Mexico, in the Yucatan Peninsula. I was on a reserve, and the activities can be simple. There was, a few birds, but what you did is, this is our boat, and we would jump off, and you put on a life preserver, and then you floated. You floated for like 2 hours. You just whoop, bloop, 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 bloop. And we would do that, and it was awesome. And you paid money to do that, so that keeps these mangroves intact, it keeps this natural area intact, and they're making money. But of course there are problems with ecotourism, one of which this kind of thing happens. So there's another reserve, it's a different place, but we're still in the Yucatan, you kind of get the little cenote feel. And they assign to don't feed the animals, be respectful, ecotourist. And I noticed these people were feeding some of the little animals that were around there cookies, and I was like, ah. And then a park guard, he kind of had a big jacket on. He reached into his jacket, and he pulled out some cookies, and he put them in my hand. And I was like, oh. Yeah, animal crackers. Yeah, the irony of that. And I took my self-righteous self, and I was like, cool. And his little paws, it was so awesome. So that's one of the problems with ecotourism. People do that. So let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll get to some of the people.